I'm going to focus today, I'm going to do a little bit of a technology talk, and I'm going to talk about Wi-Fi. How many of you are familiar with Wi-Fi? Show of hands. Okay, that's good. How many of you have used Wi-Fi today? Show of hands. Okay, all right, that's good. So Wi-Fi as a technology has some interesting properties, and I think there are 3 reasons that it's one of the more interesting technologies and something that's worthy of a talk. 1, as we've just proven, almost everybody uses it. Everybody is familiar with this technology. 2, like all technologies, one of the key things that happens is that it advances. It keeps moving in terms of speed, in terms of distance, in terms of technical parameters. 3, and interestingly enough, it's one of the few technologies that keeps finding its ways into different products, different end products. We would have never imagined when this industry started that we'd be seeing Wi-Fi in so many different end devices, and we'll talk a little bit about that. I suppose there's a 4th reason that Wi-Fi is kind of interesting, and that's that I've been working on it for 15 or 16 years, so I know 1 or 2 things about it. Okay, 1 or 2. We'll see if I'm right by the end of the talk. I don't know who does these things. I don't know who has the time for this. I definitely don't have the time for this, but somebody did a survey about Wi-Fi, and there were some interesting factoids that came up. First, 60% of respondents can't go a day without using Wi-Fi. Okay, so we had a survey here in this room, informal survey. Everybody used it today. 60% of people can't go a day without. Again, I don't know who comes up with these wacky things, but somebody did. Second, 39% of respondents would give up coffee in exchange for Wi-Fi. I am definitely in the 61%, okay? I actually started the day, I think the last speaker mentioned that he started the day in Atlanta. I started the day in Bangalore, India, okay? That's a long way away. If it wasn't for coffee, I wouldn't be here right now. So I can say definitely in the 61%. And then finally, I guess this is kind of passé now, 50% of respondents would exchange Facebook for Wi-Fi. I guess the new deal is Snapchat, things like that. I don't know. Somebody will have to tell me what the new modern social media. I'm an old guy, so I have no idea. But the main message is that Wi-Fi obviously is a technology that we all use, that we all have familiarity with, and that we all take for granted in many ways, shapes, and forms. I'm going to just give a quick history of the technology. It has a very interesting history. In 1971, somebody had the wild idea that they wanted to connect the Hawaiian Islands. So to connect Maui with Hawaii, with Oahu, kind of difficult to do. So they figured, oh, we're going to try to use wireless to do that. And the Aloha Net was born. And then in 1985, the FCC did something. They opened up what they called garbage frequencies. Most things that we use that are wireless require a license from the federal government. But in 1985, the FCC said, we're going to open up something and allow unlicensed technology. People can use it for free. And that was really a key turning point in the development of Wi-Fi, among other technologies. Bluetooth is also a technology that we all know and love that takes advantage of the unlicensed band. In 1988, NCR got the idea that they wanted to have wireless cash registers. And so in order to get cash registers to talk to each other, they figured out they needed some way to standardize. And they got together with Bell Labs. And in 1997, a very nice name, the IEEE 802.11 standard was born. Now, it's kind of a mouthful, not a very sexy thing. And so in 1999, somebody said, oh, we better call this something else. We're going to call it Wi-Fi, okay, instead of IEEE 802.11 something something. Kind of a wacky name again. But then also in 1999, this crazy fella called Steve Jobs got up on stage just down the street here in the Flint Center in De Anza and did a demonstration with a laptop, and he ran a hula hoop over it and showed that there were no wires that would connect to this. And this is really where Wi-Fi started to take off. When Jobs did this thing, that's what got people excited about the technology, and it really started to take root. Okay? Wi-Fi, as I said, is a technology, has the characteristic of technical evolution. And I'll just take you through that very quickly. In 1997, this first standard was capable of delivering 2 megabits per second. And then in 1999, a new standard came after that that was capable of delivering 11 megabits per second. And then another standard on top of that, something called 802.11g, came to pass that was capable of delivering 54 megabits per second. And then finally another standard, 802.11n, capable of 450 megabits per second. And finally, where we are today, the 5th generation of Wi-Fi technology, something called 802.11ac. We ran out of letters. It can't be A, B. We had to go to 2 letters, AC, and that's capable of over a gigabit per second. So in a relatively short period of time, 20 years, this technology has boosted speed over 500 times. Okay, so massive, massive increases in really a relatively short period of time. You can see that the volumes, the number of shipments that take place, have exponentially increased. You can see that here we're at reaching over 2 billion shipments per year. 2 billion products per year are shipped with Wi-Fi technology. That's a huge number, probably more than any other single technology today. Wi-Fi is the leading shipper. Now, I had an interesting conversation with somebody at Starbucks. I was complaining to them about the price of my coffee. I said, oh, hey, price went up. What's the deal? Is that, hey, prices always go up. Unfortunately, not in this business, okay? Prices have gone way down. Our first chipsets, this is just focusing on a chipset, the first chipset price was something in the $30 range, $35. Today, a Wi-Fi chip, a semiconductor device, sells for something around $2. So a massive drop in price that's enabled this increase, huge increase in volume. The second interesting property about the technology I spoke of a minute ago is how it's moved across product categories. If you remember in that first graphic, I talked about Steve Jobs and doing this hula hoop over the PC. Really, Wi-Fi was intended, its first intention was to connect your PC, a notebook PC, to the internet. And the first products were all around that. You had all the different kinds of PCs connecting to home routers, cable routers, DSL routers, whatever it might be, but a very simple set of products, simple set of product ranges that incorporated the technology. But then things started going mobile. Things started moving, portable devices, tablets, phones, and those technologies, those products started to build in Wi-Fi. And then about 2010, we had video, TVs, CD players, these little Roku sticks, the little streaming media sticks, all of these things started building in Wi-Fi. And then one of the previous speakers was talking about the Internet of Things. The Internet of Things, and we'll spend some time on this in some subsequent slides, is a huge, huge new revolution, technical revolution. You've got all sorts of things that are connecting to the internet. Washing machines, refrigerators, thermostats. Somebody was mentioning Barbie dolls. All kinds of things are now connecting to the internet. And in almost every case, they're using Wi-Fi technology to do so. So there's been a huge change in how the industry thinks about this technology. What kind of products are we focusing on? And it seems like as fast as the speeds are evolving, the markets, then the market segments are changing with it. What is the Internet of Things? Okay, everybody has all sorts of different definitions, but you can see that really it's the convergence of people, machines, and software. All three things coming together in various products. Products that can learn, products that can think, products that can sense. All of these things coming together are creating a huge new opportunity for the technical community, whether it be the semiconductor piece that I come from, whether it be software, whether it becomes security, like the other gentleman was speaking about. All of these things are coming together in this new product category called the Internet of Things. And if we look at what is a thing, right, this is kind of a very general term. There are many different components that go into this, but you typically have some processor, something that's thinking, something that's be able to compute. You've got sensors that can sense the environment, sense people, touch. You've got software. You've got connectivity. So all of these things have to connect in some way to the internet, using Wi-Fi, using Bluetooth, using GPS. All of these different connectivity technologies typically come to bear in the Internet of Things. They're autonomous. They can behave by themselves. And finally, they're contextually aware. They're aware of their environment in some way. So the Internet of Things is something that's taking off. It's meaningful. It's a huge opportunity. And certainly as people start embarking on their careers, it's going to open up a whole new frontier for technical development. To give you a sense of how big the market is, the current market for cell phones is about 5.6 billion units. Okay? The Internet of Things, which means automobiles, thermostats, all these different things that are shown here in this graphic, that opportunity is, some people say 30 billion. This particular number is one that I pulled out here, is 30 billion. Some people say 50 billion. Some people say 100 billion. No matter what number you use, it's an order of magnitude greater than the single biggest opportunity that's out there today, which is cell phones. So this is a massive, massive opportunity, again, not only for the semiconductor industry, but also for software, for security, everything. We all have to be thinking about how to address this massive opportunity. I wanted to spend a couple minutes on sort of what's coming next in Wi-Fi. There's an emerging standard that is called 802.11ax. Remember I said we started running out of letters, and so now we have to go with 2, and now we're up to AX. I suppose it's going to go to B something soon. I guess my engineering guys are all working on that. AX is probably solving a problem that most of us in the room deal with. You see all these students here on laptops in a classroom. What happens? Wi-Fi shuts down, doesn't operate very well. Everybody starts working on their chemistry assignment in one of the classrooms over here in Bellarmine, and everyone complains, oh, Wi-Fi is slow. Well, that's because many, many people are connected to it at one time. You've gone to a football game, a basketball game. You try to go and find out what's happening with your fantasy team. Very slow, right? You're on a train, you're commuting. Again, experience is very slow. So this new standard that we're working on, this 802.11ax, that is specifically meant to address the problem of congestion in a room like this. If everybody was flipping over their laptops, the Wi-Fi would grind to a halt. But this technology, this new emerging standard, is going to help us all move faster and be able to operate in these very, very congested environments. And this should start shipping sometime at the end of 2017 or 2018 is when we'll start seeing the first products come online. But then what's after that? Okay, what's coming after 2018 where we already have products that are in development? The first initiative that we're working on is really how to make this easier. It's kind of difficult. Still, you have passwords you have to type in. There's all these security concerns that we talked about earlier. We have to make the technology far easier, and there's a lot of work going on to do that. Secondly is a frequency of operation. We talked a minute ago about the FCC opening up these unlicensed bands. Those bands are in the 2 gigahertz or 5 gigahertz spectrum. Newer technologies are coming online that will use something in the 60 gigahertz frequency. Very, very high frequency. What that enables is super high capacity. In 60 gigahertz in millimeter wave radio, you can be operating at speeds of 10, 20 gigabits, and that becomes important for applications like virtual reality. I was just at the CES show in Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago, and almost everybody was talking about virtual reality, but almost everybody was using a wire to connect to these goggles, right? And people are tripping and falling all over the place. And if you can get this to work with a wireless technology, that will really enable VR and AR to take off. And this is what has to happen in order to do that. We have to move frequency bands. Okay? Of course, range. And again, I'm sure many of you have had the experience in your home where there are these dead spots when you're trying to connect to Wi-Fi. Oh, it doesn't work in my room. Oh, it doesn't work in the den. It doesn't work in the office. This is a problem. And so rather than having lots of different repeaters or mesh, there's a bunch of different technical solutions that are coming online that will enable one router to connect to all corners of a home. So you don't have to buy 10 and 20 different products. And then finally, more speed. Of course, it wouldn't be a technology if we weren't pushing the speed envelope. We're pushing that today. We're at gigabits. We're talking about now going to 10 and 20 gigabits per second. So this Wi-Fi, again, it's very, very instructive. It's one of these technologies that is moving on a technical axis, moving on a product axis, something that we all use, something that we're all familiar with. And again, because I've been working on it for so long, it's something that I'm very excited about. Thank you all very much.